Hey guys, this is Miss Madison, and this is your daily dose of English. So, today we're going to be looking at the research essay. This is a pretty big assignment, and we're going to be learning about it today. We're also going to learn how to do an extended outline, which will help you make this big process easier. So, today we're going to be working on the extended essay and also the outline. The outline is going to be due tomorrow night at midnight. Just keep that in mind. So we'll work on that a little bit today and a little bit tomorrow, and it should be good. First, let's just introduce the actual assignment. So this is the research essay. And it's a pretty important assignment. This is one that you guys will definitely use when you go to college. Any kind of post-secondary work you're going to do, they're going to have some kind of writing where you're going to take someone else's work and you're going to cite it and you're going to talk about it, what you think about it, whether it's good or bad. And you're going to have lots of assignments where you're incorporating multiple different kinds of sources and coming up with your response on those sources. So this is a great opportunity to practice that. We're going to be looking at a minimum of 4 sources. So notice you can use, this is the same topic as your debate research. So you're going to use all the research you had for your debate. You can also incorporate research from your opponents. All the partners in your debate can share each other's sources. So be sure to do that. Make sure that you share your data and your evidence cards with your opponents and your partners so that you can have access to all of these sources. It's really going to help you when it comes to addressing alternative viewpoints and also just making sure you have enough data and enough information to do a valid point on this. Keep in mind with this assignment, you do not have to take the same exact approach that you did with your debate. This is a more nuanced, a more fleshed out version of this topic. So you can look at the topic as a whole and really think about the question as a whole and come up with your own position on it. Maybe it's to what extent does this happen, or in what ways is this true, and what extent should we do this? So it's not necessarily a black and white answer the way that the debate was. So it's really meant to be an open question that you're really exploring all the positions and coming up with what you really think about it. Obviously, you may have this may share some of the opinions that you had in your debate. You may obviously take some of those stances, but you want to really work this through and recognize that it's a complicated question, and you might take a stance that's more nuanced or like more gray about the topic. So keep that in mind. A couple of things we're going to be doing for sure. We're going to be developing a clear and organized argument on the topic. So no matter what you think about it, it should be clear and it should be organized what you think about it. You're going to summarize and paraphrase information, and you're going to be using quotations and blending those into your ideas. We're going to practice, using that evidence and citing it in MLA or APA format. So that will take place. Keep in mind, this is a longer paper. It's 4 to 6 pages, typed double-spaced. So it's not just your debate outline. This is a longer, more fleshed out version, and it's going to have a little bit more elements to it and a little bit more fleshed out. Keep in mind that as you look at this, you're going to be obviously using the research that you have, but really supporting that research with your own ideas, weighing the costs and the benefits, and addressing the other side and answering their objections. You'll also provide closure and ultimately develop your own voice on this issue. So you may already be kind of an expert on this topic, and you're just going to explore that really in depth with a 4 to 6 page research paper. Keep in mind that strong papers will have clear evaluation of the solutions or the impacts of the topic. You're going to look at the harms, and this is all going to take place in an academic conversation, exploring what other people have said and evaluating the evidence that exists out there. All right, so that is the actual assignment. Next, we're going to actually check out an example. We're going to be reading this example. It's on standardized testing, and you guys are going to answer these questions. They're on Classroom. So it'll take you about 15 minutes to actually read the essay. It's an example to give you an idea of how other people have done this, and you're going to answer the questions that are on Classroom. So if you click into where it says Research Essay Exemplar, it looks like this. And let's just take a few minutes. Go ahead and pause this video so you can actually read the essay and answer the questions. Like I said, it'll take you about 15 minutes to just get into this. So go ahead and pause this, and I'll see you in a minute. All right, so how did it go? We read this essay. We've got a couple things I just wanted to point out. I know you guys just read it, but there's just a couple things. What did we think of the thesis statement? So in reality, standardized testing should not be banned because it's too valuable to our education system, colleges, and groups fighting for racial equality. You might notice here we have an upfront thesis with multiple parts to it, kind of previewing what's going to happen in the actual essay. This is definitely one sort of standard approach, especially in Western academic writing, to have your thesis up front like this. As we look further, we can see they have some background information here. Notice how they are citing. This particular writer prefers to cite, let's see, they've got some quotes here. Michelle Obama has been quoted. And notice how they're actually leading into the quote with who said it. After they do this, you still have to put the page number. If you don't have the page number, you can put the actual, just put a 1 here so that you can hold the place of what a page number would be if it's an online source. So notice how you would put a page number like right here, and the period goes after the parentheses. So this would technically be APA or MLA. This would be MLA. Notice how you have the author's name and the page number. MLA likes to do this because for the type of writing the MLA cites, like humanities and English, they have, they're more interested in where the context came from as opposed to the date. So APA would actually put a number here. They would put a year instead of a 1, and that would tell us what year it came out, which is APA science type writing, and that's why they do that, because the more recent stuff, the better for science. For humanities and English classes, they like to put the page number because context of where it was said matters. Kind of notice this is definitely MLA citation. Just keep in mind, even if you introduce the author's name at the beginning of the quote, you still want to put the page number for MLA. Let's see, they also address some counter arguments. They start off talking about how some people falsely assume that standardized testing causes racial and economic gaps in academic abilities, and then they've gone on to actually address that and respond to it. Notice they also have evidence from their own personal lives, which I thought was kind of great, and ultimately they do a pretty good job of citing. I just want to kind of point out when it comes to the citations, if you don't introduce the quote with the people who said it, you definitely want to put their last name in the parentheses here with the page number on there. So kind of pay attention to that. All right, good. So make sure you guys answer these questions about this essay. I'll look forward to hearing what you thought of it. And now we're going to actually move on to look at ways you can organize your essay. So this is different strategies. The first option, you can do a straight up policy organization. So that's where you really talk about the problem, you give a lot of background on the harms of the current system, and you talk about how we have to solve it. If you're doing a topic where you really want to change the current policy, this might be a good way to organize. First you start off with the problems and the harms, then you talk about how the status quo, the current situation just isn't working, and you give a lot of background information that way. And then you introduce your plan and you talk about how it works and solves the problem, solvency. And then you just kind of weigh out the costs and the benefits, really showing what you think should happen. This is a pretty standard sort of policy approach to organizing a research essay, definitely an option to consider. Second option is a periodic thesis approach. Notice up in the first option, you're putting your thesis up front, most likely. You're introducing what you think should happen up front. In a periodic approach, you'd actually introduce your research question. It's more open-ended. You introduce, hey, here's an interesting question. Here's some background on it. I'm not giving you my thesis up front. It's a different choice, and it's a strategy you can choose to do. For this essay, if you'd like, you can actually just kind of have the research question, and then you weigh the options kind of point by point, turning us into and kind of leading our minds down a path into your solution. So in the end, we get your solid, clear thesis that's fully answering the question. So that's something to consider for research essays. I wouldn't do this for like an argument essay, but for a research-based essay, you can do this where you start with the research question and kind of come to your approach at the end. Another option to consider is to really start with you're raising your counter arguments first. So that's something to consider. You can really like briefly raise the question and background information on the topic and just start by evaluating the other side and being like, hey, this is what the other side has to say, and then slowly start to address why that isn't the best option. This is a great option, especially if you can really pick apart the other side and you can really make strong attacks on it. You can raise the other side, but then discuss how ultimately everything that they're saying is wrong. It has a lot of critical thinking implied in it, and so that's a great option for that. So these are some ideas just to kind of think about as you want to organize all the stuff you're going to talk about. Next, we're going to look at an example of an outline, which is what you're working on today and tomorrow. So this is an example of an extended research detailed outline. So what you see here, you have this person was really into color coding everything. So they have the different sections of their paper, and then they have the green stuff is the evidence, and then they get like more specific detailed evidence. The blue stuff is their main points. You kind of get an idea here, like their first main point is going to be about the definition of identity theft, and then they're going to talk about who's impacted. Notice how you can have your thesis statement up front. You can put it up here on your outline. Even if you choose to come to it at the end, you kind of want to be clear about where you're going at some point. Make sure the thesis is somewhere in the detailed outline. This person also includes a little introduction that helps us kind of, that's my puppies. Hi, puppies. This is just little intro stuff. You may want to put that in there, especially if you have a creative way you want to start, just to kind of give you some stuff to start with. But for the most part, what I'm looking for is thesis statement somewhere in here, and then I'm looking to see that you have main points with the type of evidence you want to put in. So you can pull this right out of your debate outline if you'd like. There will be sections for each of the paragraphs in your debate outline that you can pull into this, and you just want to be really clear about, like, next I want to talk about this point. Here's the evidence I'm going to bring to bear, and these are the main subpoints. The next paragraph is going to be about this, and then I'm going to address a counter argument and really bring in the counter argument here. And then I'm going to continue the process. Do you see how they're continuing in the rational kind of reasoned approach as they continue through each main point? So this is really your chance to put together all the stuff you want to talk about, putting it into an organized outline. Again, main points in the red here, and then the detailed evidence underneath it. All right, so we're looking to see roughly 2 pages of detailed outline, just your plan and like how you want to address it. Keep in mind that this is not just your debate outline. You're going to be adding different paragraphs with other elements and other points, and definitely addressing the other side in a very direct way. All right, so this is time for you guys to actually start to make your outline. You want to use your debate case probably to start it, and then add sections and subpoints as needed. So the rest of time today is just to start working on your outline. Tomorrow we're going to do the same thing. We're going to spend time working on that outline, and that will be due tomorrow night at midnight. So that's your daily dose of English. All right, guys, I miss you. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.